Alright, David Harry here, and in this video I'm just going to explain how I go through some of my testing methods for when I want to come up with, say, a modification to something. And this is also something that I do with a lot of other different types of YouTube videos, like things that have got technical elements to them and stuff. Now, very specifically, what this video is about is me testing to see if I can enhance the wind performance of the Deadcat for the Rode VideoMicro. So there's two things here. One, I need to make sure that whatever I test actually is going to improve the performance for wind rejection, but two, doesn't destroy the tone of the microphone in the process. So what I'm doing in this video is, first of all, testing me methods to make sure that the tone doesn't get destroyed. And then if it ends up that it sounds okay, then I'll move on to the second set of testing, which is to test it for wind rejection, which at that point it still may not work, but first of all I have to work out tone for it. So what it is, there's a normal Deadcat off a Rode VideoMicro, which is great in the first instance. I'm just trying to see if I can improve upon it. Then what I do, I take a little end piece off a very cheap microphone. What it is, I buy a lot of these little cheap microphones. They're like £3 or £4. They're really rubbish microphones. But what it is, they have some parts on them which are really cool to use for modifications. So take the ball end off one of them. Then what I've done, I unpack the VideoMicro and then I take its foam from inside, its acoustic foam, stretch that over the ball and then put the ball back inside the fair, and then I find a way of kind of closing it over and stuff. So then I get this thing here, which, as we can hear, is solid because it's got one of these balls inside. So the idea is to create, or try to create, something like a mini or micro blimp system. Because when you get one of those blimp systems around a microphone, it really does help in a bunch of ways, which I won't get into now because this is just one of me test things. But it really does help the microphone to, it helps the mic breathe better for its tone, but also it helps with the reduction or the further reduction of any other bits of wind leakage that get inside the blimp system. And then what I do here, I actually use another piece that I took off these microphones here, which just very conveniently allow the microphone to fit inside, a little snug fit there. I actually seal it as well a bit more at the back with something else. But I basically get what looks like a Rode VideoMicro with its blimp on, with its Deadcat, but this is the blimp type. Now there's three things I'm going to test here. One is going to be with its standard Deadcat. Two, it's going to be like that with the ball blimp thing on. And then what I'll do a third one with a piece of foam like that on there, but then that's inside. So ultimately what I'm doing here is I'm going to try and have the capsule sitting in free space inside the ball there. And I mean, it does sit inside free space on this particular setup that I've got, but the idea is it's in free space there, and that free space is hopefully going to help it reject wind a bit more as well. Like I say, I won't go into any great detail here because there is a little bit of physics or science involved in this, which is going to be dead boring, so I won't do that now. But anyway, so three different ways of doing that. And like I say, what I'm doing right now is just specifically testing for tone. Now, off the back of the results of these tests, I will then move on to a second set of tests, which will be ultimately testing it for wind reduction. So the problem is here, after all what I've done here, it still may not happen, because if the wind reduction isn't improved, then there's no real point in doing it. Anyway, let me just get into the video and I'll show you the process that I go through, and then I'll come back at the end. Oh, actually, just before I get into this test, and the one thing I've not mentioned, the actual micro that I'm testing here is one of my Omni variations. So this is the one that I've modified with the Omni directional capsule in it. I will also be doing the exact same thing again, and both tests to do with the microphone in its original cardio capsule. So on with the testing. Okay, so this is the first of one of 3 takes for my Omni micro. And what I'm doing here, I've just got it with its just standard Deadcat on right now. So this will be, you know, the bass tone, as it were, you know, the bass level tone. Don't mean bass as in low frequency, but bass as in the basic standard of what this would sound like usually, because there's no way I'd probably go out anywhere. I mean, to be honest, right now it probably would work okay without the Deadcat on, but the reason why I'm standing where I am right now, because it's not even breezy right now, and this is definitely what I need for testing the tone between the three variations. Okay, so once again, this was the Omni Micro with just the Deadcat on. And what I'm going to do here, in fact, just quickly, right, this is now an example of just the capsule out in the open, or the mic out in the open without a Deadcat on. Like I say, there's no breezes going on, so this will give us an idea quickly of what it's like without anything on. Because, you know, if you could use these things without Deadcats, if you're somewhere which is like completely still, then yeah, you would just do that anyway. But this is exactly what the Omni would sound like in this environment right now. Well, it is exactly how the Omni sounds in this environment right now. Anyways, I'll move over to the next configuration now for the Blimp. Okay, so this is now the Omni Micro inside the Mini Blimp system, or Mini Ball, whatever. So yeah, I'm just hoping that now that it's in free space, that, you know, it doesn't have any adverse effect. The free space definitely will help it in certain ways. It also helps with weirdly helps with the deceleration, because there's a volume of air inside it from the small leakage that gets in. I mean, obviously once that leakage becomes big, then yeah, it's just going to wipe things out. But right now, hopefully, with the capsule being completely in, you know, dead airspace, that I'm not going to be getting all kinds of, like, you know, funky tone changes and stuff. I'm just hoping so anyway, because, you know, it'd be really nice if this thing works out well, because this would be a fantastic modification for people to do. Obviously, as far as this test is concerned right now, this is for tone, and then I've got to do my wind tests for that. But yeah, you know, it'll all come for the wind tests and test that, but right now it's just for tone. Okay, so I'm going to now switch over to the next configuration. Okay, so the Omni Micro still, but this time I've put that little bit of like foam over the end of the Micro before it goes inside the ball for the like Mini Blimp system. Yeah, I think Mini Blimp sounds good. It kind of keeps in with all this nano mic and, you know, small mic thing that I have on the go with some of the other things. Anyways, yeah, so this potentially, as I will have mentioned with the cardioid variation with the VideoMicro as standard, this one has the potential to knock out just that little bit extra, whatever may be banging around as far as air movement is concerned, with inside the ball. The only thing is, I mean, it's what it is. It's not a massive thick filter, you see. So, you know, the foam that's on it, so it doesn't start consuming all the airspace or the dead space within inside the ball, and therefore negating the point of it. I mean, obviously, it could do with a much bigger ball to be in, or, you know, a much bigger shape. But that's just completely impractical with this, because as it stands, with the ball in as it stands right now, it is not that much bigger than what the Deadcat normally would be, because it is the Deadcat that's all over it. So yeah, you know, it's got to be practical about these things. Anyways, let's just hope that this isn't having a huge, massive impact on the tone. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go through a count test between all three variations, so I can quickly hear from 1 to 1 how they all sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so there we have it then. Now don't forget, all I was testing for here was tone, just to make sure that the tone wasn't being impacted too much between any way of doing this. Now, I already have got my thoughts at the end of this, but what'd be really interesting is, you know, if anyone's watched this and they're into this type of stuff, if they wouldn't mind like saying something in the comments, let me know what they think of the results and such. But anyway, like I say, this is just typical of what I do before I do one video. Sometimes I'll end up doing 3 or 4 videos like that, testing, before I just do the one final video. And obviously most of this stuff doesn't go live. I mean, I've only done this one because there's been some comments in this across some of my videos where there's been people asking like fairly specific stuff, and I think there might be 2 people out there actually who might be interested in, like, you know, this methodology that I use for testing and stuff like that. But like I say, let us know what you think. And then what I will do, once I've done my wind testing, if that actually proves to, you know, decrease the amount of wind hitting the capsule and therefore increase the performance from that to that, I'll most certainly do a full-blown video about it and start actually using it as well. Anyway, for those few people who are into this type of stuff, hopefully they found it interesting. Anyways, yeah, I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.